Sorry about the abrupt end to that last video. My sweet neighbor was calling and I can't leave her hanging. She's talking about the wedding and I'm talking about that doggone garden. I think I have posted the garden video, y'all. I did not water my garden for 3 weeks because I thought to myself, I am so finished with this garden. I have worked in it all summer long, and so for almost the whole month of August, I did not water the thing. Well, I got a wild hair a couple days ago and went up there. I have a watermelon this big and half of a 3-gallon bucket of tomatoes and peppers that just persevered. I was done with the garden, but the garden wasn't done with me. So I've got to do something with all that. I think I'm going to put it all in a pot and boil it down and just call it pepper relish or something. I don't know. I just can't bear the thought of doing anything else with it. Not with the wedding coming up. So anyway, we didn't get to put the ginger peach chicken on that last video. We'll put the ginger peach chicken on this video. I've got my bags labeled. We'll just take one for the purpose of this video. We've got green beans, ends trimmed. I buy those already like that from Walmart because I'm all about making something a little easier for myself. And then we need 8 ounces of peach jam, which is 1 cup. I love peach jam, but I am diabetic, so I'm going to have to get this out and get it into the bags in that raw chicken so that I won't start wanting a little bit and a little bite here and there. Okay, there's our peach jam. Ooh. I was telling my daughter that this was the last recipe. She said, Mama, I'll just be honest, I can't decide whether that is going to be good or not good. It calls to grate a 1-inch piece of ginger. That yields about a tablespoon of ginger, and I love using this ginger in the tube. If you have ever tried to peel and grate raw ginger, it is so hard, and this makes it not hard at all. And then a tablespoon of soy sauce. If I knew that the sesame would be good with the peach, I'd put a little sesame oil in there too. That always adds that little umami. People are like, what's that taste? And usually it's sesame oil. So this ginger peach chicken smells amazing. Gosh, that ginger. Oh, smells so good. I know if I grated raw, yeah, it would probably be less than a tablespoon, but it would be much more pungent than this ginger in a tube. So adding that tablespoon smells just right. So nice. I'm going to have to get this peach jam off here. I'm going to want to taste it. All right, lastly, we're just going to put a bag of those green beans right in the top. They're already washed. They're already trimmed. It's perfect. And that is that. Meal number 5. If you'll give me a few minutes to put the rest of these together, we'll make those homemade meatballs. And they are very delicious. Stay tuned. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't have to buy breadcrumbs because I bought that stuffing, and then I was going to grind it up and make my own breadcrumbs. That's an Averett fix right there. I don't normally use my homegrown pork for dinner to go. However, I have a quarter of a cow coming in about 3 weeks. And I'm going to make a little space in my freezer by using a little bit of my pork. Now, if you want to make these meatballs, it is equal parts pork sausage, ground pork, and then about half that many breadcrumbs. So well, phooey. Hold on a second. Nice. I'm trying to keep my phone plugged in, and the cord got pulled. As I was saying, here I've got 2 pounds of pork sausage, 2 pounds of ground pork. Nice. We're gonna fix it in just a minute. I got my hands full. 2 pounds of ground sausage, 2 pounds of ground pork, and to that I will just start adding a cup of breadcrumbs at a time, probably somewhere between 3 and 4 cups of breadcrumbs. Let's pause for just a little while and let the phone charge up, and then maybe we can get through this. I'll just turn us around so the phone can stay on the charger. What a revelation. I put some eggs in there. You're going to want to use 1 egg per pound. 2 of my eggs were Banny eggs, which is about, no, they're a little bigger than a quail egg. So I used those. I have this little troop of Banties that roams my property free and clear of any obligation, but they do lay their eggs in the same spot almost all the time, so I'm able to gather them. I'm going to start off with 2 cups of breadcrumbs, 4 eggs, 2 pounds of sausage, 2 pounds of ground pork. Now, I don't need to add any salt, pepper, or seasonings to this. My sausage has seasonings, and my breadcrumbs were ground from herb seasoned stuffing mix. So it has seasoning also. I don't need to add anything. They're going to be in a very flavorful soup. And as we all know, almost everybody has salt and pepper on their own table, and they can fix it to their liking. I gotta wash my hands because I gotta add probably another 2 cups of breadcrumbs. Those meatballs are very juicy. I just wash up right quick so that I don't get meat hands on the food processor, because that would be gross. Since it spilled over the edge a little bit, I think that's going to be okay. You want them a nice firm consistency without being dry. What you're really looking for is just to mix it until the breadcrumbs have been able to soak up all the moisture. I keep my counters very clean, just in case you're wondering, because I often spill things and have to retrieve them off the counter because I'm a human being. Let's make a test. Holds together nicely. Doesn't crack open, so it's not dry. Let's give you a close-up of that. Now I'm going to use a scoop. You could put powdered onion, powdered garlic, things like that in it if you want to. My sausage is unparalleled, the best, so I don't feel like I need to eat anything, add anything. Everyone who buys and eats my sausage says they've never tasted anything better. I can thank my processor for that. What's that for? Oh, it's the timer for the oven. It says it's up to temperature because guess what? I have to bake these meatballs. So I should have started them first. That would have been the wise thing to do. Now I'm going to scoop these out with a cookie scoop because I want them smaller than your regular size meatball. They don't need to be a knife and fork meatball. They need to be a bite-sized meatball. So that's how we're going to do that. I have a cookie scoop, of course. And I'll have to be very careful with it because I also use it to scoop out my energy balls. So we'll want to wash it thoroughly by hand, scrubbing with soap, spraying with Clorox, and getting everything out of every crack and crevice. When I was in Kenner, Louisiana, I made Wednesday night supper for our church, and one of the dishes that people loved the most were my homemade meatballs for spaghetti and meatballs. Well, my girls were 12 to 15 years old. They were homeschooled. New Orleans school system was a little too rough for us. And they would come with me to the church on Wednesday night, and we would have these scoops, bigger scoops than this, and my daughter that's getting married and I would have a meatball rolling contest. Well, that was my way of really getting her into getting it done quickly, but it was not long until that little booger could roll meatballs and beat me every time. She just, I don't know what her secret was, her little bitty hands or her singular focus or lightning quickness. She and I would roll meatballs. I bet we probably rolled 400 meatballs on the Wednesdays that we cooked that menu. And the sauce had been simmering all night long. Then we'd bake the meatballs in the oven like we're going to do now and put them into the sauce and let them continue to cook there. Oh, they were so soft and juicy and succulent. The sauce was the perfect mix between sweet and savory with a little bit of spice. That was a good recipe. I don't make that recipe at my current church. I don't have as much time to devote. I make a good lasagna though. That's a close second, I guess. So I'm just going to continue to scoop these meatballs. Then I'm going to take them and roll them all in my hands, line them up like so, and give them a quick bake so that we can add them to the soup bags for our meatball vegetable soup. Okay, the meatballs are in the oven and they smell amazing. I went ahead and added my carrots to all 3 bags. 2 cups to the half bag and 1 cup to the small bag. I'm going to try to put my meatballs on top. I don't want them to sit in the liquid so much. I feel like that's not going to be good for their structure. Then I have these onions. I'm going to put a cup of those in each bag. We'll save that for later. We're going to put a can of cannellini beans. Actually, this is a little more cannellini beans than we need, so I'm going to pull some out. They look good. I like cannellini beans. Maybe 3 heaping tablespoons from each can. It says to rinse and drain them. I never rinse and drain them because I like all the liquid and all the goodness. Oh wait, I have 3 cans, so I could put a whole can in each. That's what I'll do. 1, and then those will be for that one over there. And then the pasta sauce. I love Classico pasta sauce because you can use the jar later to can. I know people say not to do that, but I haven't ever had any trouble with it, so I just keep doing it. I don't use the lids though. I use them after I open things. You can use the lids to seal them up rather than keeping your jar rings and lids tied up in the refrigerator. All right, and then I'm going to add, they're going to have to add 2 cups of chicken broth, but I don't want anybody to have to buy chicken broth after they've paid me for the recipe. So these bouillon cubes are what you add to a cup of water to make chicken broth. So since they're going to have to add 2 cups of chicken broth, I'm going to add 2 bouillon cubes. That way they only have to add 2 cups of water. They don't feel like they've paid for their meal and then paid for things to add to it. All right, so that's that. I'll get all that juicy stuff squished together so that it can marinate and mix and marry. Then I'm going to put a layer of spinach, and then I'm going to put the meatballs in on top of that. I want them to be, this spinach has been washed and spun dry. It calls for 5 ounces. This is a 10-ounce bag. So if I get half of that in here, let's see. That'll be good. This soup, I think, is going to be delicious. It's going to be kind of like a zuppa toscana with the Italian meatballs and the Italian sauce, the cannellini beans, carrots, onions. Sounds wonderful. My meatballs lack 45 seconds, so let's take those out of the oven. I wanted them cooked pretty hard. Oh, they look delicious. It's heavy, so I'm coming fast. Look at those. Yummy. Now, by my calculations, which aren't always correct, math and I are not great friends, I have 105 meatballs, except for I ate one a minute ago to see how they were doing. So I'm just going to split those meatballs between these 3 bags. Meatballs are ready. And after I get all these bags done, I'll come back and I'll wrap it up. Super yummy. I decided to give 5 meatballs per serving after weighing those out on my little scale. One time it came up 3.9 ounces for 5 meatballs. One time it came out 4.1. So this one's going to be a little booger to close, but we'll get it done. These are so good. Now I have a lot of ingredients left over, and of course I'm not just going to let those go to waste. You know what? Let's let this cool a little while. Those meatballs did just come out of the oven. I'll be taking stock of all the ingredients I have left and making some good dinners for my family. Thanks so much for watching today. Like, share, subscribe. Hope your day is as good as mine.